Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we'll be playing this week's Midweek Magic event, which is going to be a Phyrexia All Will Be One Phantom Sealed event. So Midweek Magic, of course, the weekly free event. So this is a free place to get some limited practice. We get to open 6 Phantom booster packs of Phyrexia All Will Be One, build a deck out of those, and play with it as much as we want. We get prizes for the first 3 wins, but we can play infinitely if we want to just get some practice in the sealed format. So highly recommend playing this event if you want to get some practice for Phyrexia All Will Be One Limited without having to put any entry fee on the line, and it's usually a pretty fun time as well. Now Phantom of course means we don't keep any of the cards that we're playing with today, but for an absolutely free entry fee, I am very okay with that. Without further ado, let's bust open our packs and see what we get to play with today. Alright, well, we have some pretty absurd options in terms of where we want to go. We'll go from probably strongest rares to weakest. We have the Eternal Wanderer in white, 6 mana for a 5 loyalty planeswalker, no more than 1 creature can attack them each combat, and the main ability here is the -4. For each player, you get to choose a creature that player controls, and each player sacrifices all creatures they control not chosen this way, so you choose your best creature and your opponent's worst creature and make the board state just those. After that, you can start using that 0 ability to make a 2/2 with double strike every single turn. You can also use that +1 to exile an artifact or creature, return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the player's next end step. So if you target your own card, it will come back during your end step, so you can get its enter the battlefield effects again. And if you target an opponent's card, it won't come back until their end step, so it won't be able to attack you or the Eternal Wanderer, because it'll be sitting in exile till the end of their turn. So very, very, very powerful Planeswalker, the best rare in the sealed pool. Our second best rare is our other Planeswalker here, Luca Bound to Ruin. 2, a red, a green, and then a hybrid red-green or 2 life for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. If you pay the 2 life, then it'll be a 3 loyalty Planeswalker. With a pretty weak +1, you just get a red and a green mana that you can use on creature spells or activated abilities of creatures. So that doesn't really do anything by itself. You need other cards in hand or other abilities on board to get any value off of that, but the other 2 abilities on this card are very, very good. A -1 ability to make a 3/3 Phyrexian Beast with Toxic 1, and a -4 to deal X damage divided as you choose among opposing creatures and planeswalkers, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So if you have a 5 power creature on board, you're living the dream. 5 damage, however you divide it, can often kill a large amount of stuff on your opponent's board, so very powerful Planeswalker there. Third best rare, probably Skrelv's Hive here. 1 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and create a 1/1 Might with Toxic 1 that can't block. So it's the most risk-reward kind of rare, where you're making all these creatures that can't block and damaging yourself. So that can put you pretty far behind, but if you corrupt your opponent, then all of your toxic creatures will have lifelink. So if you can get 3 poison counters on your opponent, all of a sudden this is making 1/1 toxic ones with lifelink that can't block, and then you can really make up for that life loss and turn this into a pretty powerful card. After that, we have Ran Executioner Thane, which is just like a solid 2-drop, not really bomb-worthy, but usually this will be able to drain your opponent a couple life during the game before it trades off, which is pretty nice. And then we have the 2 that are borderline unplayable in my opinion. Norn's Wellspring just plays far too slow for this format, even in sealed, in my opinion, because it just sits there for a long time doing not much for that 2-mana investment. Eventually you do get to start drawing cards and maybe getting a little bit of scry, but haven't been a huge fan of it. And then the definitely unplayable card is Mind Splice Apparatus. You just can't play a deck that is specific enough to make great use of that cost reduction in sealed and in draft, when you have to invest 4 mana into this card up front for no effect on the board state. Yeah, there's just not enough synergies you can pull off and combos you can pull off in sealed with this card, even if it is a really cool card for constructed. So very powerful rares. We will take a look at our commons and uncommons. and see if those point us in any direction, but we are quite likely to want to play white, red, and green as our most powerful colors. So we're going to start off with a look at our colorless cards and our multicolored cards, as I usually do, to see if we have any other reasons to be in particular color pairs. Cinder/Ravager is a decent reason to be in red-green. If we have a lot of good oil stuff, then we can cast this card for pretty cheap, and sometimes it even blows up a lot of your opponent's board as well, so very, very good card there. We also have Serum Core Chimera and Blue-Red, which is quite a good card for that color pair also. So we'll keep an eye on those, but that means we have both Luca Bound to Ruin and Cinder/Ravager in red-green, so definitely a heavier reason to be in that color pair than anything we've seen so far. We've got some good mana fixing if we do want to splash in either the Wanderer or the Luca. We've got Prophetic Prism, 2 copies of Phyrexian Atlas, and Dune Mover. So every single colorless card in our sealed pool can mana fix us in one way or the other. The Dune Mover pulling a basic on top, the Prophetic Prism filtering our mana, and the Phyrexian Atlas just tapping for a mana of any color. So those are all pretty good options if we end up wanting to go 3 color, maybe green red splash white, green white splash red, any combination of those 3. So now we'll take a look at each color one by one, see what we've got going on, see how powerful they look. First and foremost, we're going to look at our white cards here. It definitely looks like we have quite a few, which is a good sign for the color. Do want to see how it looks on curve and split it out by mana cost. And we will take out some of the cards I'm not a big fan of, like Norn's Wellspring, Resistance Reunited. How many toxic creatures do I have in this color pair? We have a Flensing Raptor, 2 Jawbone Duelists, a Duelist of Deep Faith, and a Crawling Chorus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5. So that's probably just borderline for Complete Devotion. Keep it in for now. Vanish into Eternity is a little better in Sealed than Draft, but in Draft the format is quick enough that I think this is almost unplayable if you're trying to use it to exile creatures. Still not a massive fan of it. A massive fan of Skull Bomb either. Cut like 2 of the Vanishes for now. This is probably like the solid white cards. I guess Enforcer's not doing much in here. Lightbringers aren't doing much. We'll cut one of those. Something like this is kind of our white creature base, or just our white card base in general. Does look pretty good. We have Crawling Chorus turn 1 into double Jawbone Duelist and Duelist of Deep Faith on turn 2. So a lot of good, cheap, toxic creatures to try to corrupt our opponent before we play a card like Skrelv's Hive to make that card quite a bit better. With those 4 toxic creatures that cost 2 or less, we also have the Flensing Raptor to send one of them in the sky, which is just a great aggressive play. We've got the Porcelain Zealot to be buffing up those creatures, and this can also buff up our Phyrexian Mites. And then we have just some solid filler creatures, like a couple Gold Warden's Helm. Lightbringer Justiciars are fine. Yeah. And we've got that Eternal Wanderer, which is obviously pretty incredible. White looks pretty dang solid here. Probably like a solid B+ for white. Not quite an A. The Wanderer brings it almost all the way to like an A. But we don't really have good removal. We just have the one 6 mana white removal spell. Alright, blue's not looking super hot here. But we'll see. Not a huge fan of Meldweb Strider. I am okay with playing like 1 copy of it though, but definitely not 3, so we'll cut 2 right now. Mind Splice Apparatus is too slow. Logbook is pretty slow as well. Not in love with the Aspirant's Ascent Combat Trick. We're just looking at mono blue for now. We do have 1 removal spell with Mesmerizing Dose. We have a nice piece of instant speed interaction with Serum Snare and that Skull Bomb. Blue actually does look solid. There's no like massive reason to be in blue, but it's pretty consistent. Retrofitter's pretty powerful with artifact creatures, so if we were blue-white, we could use this to make our Mandible Justiciars 4/4s with lifelink instead of 2/1s with lifelink. So the blue-white curve of turn 2 artifact creature into turn 3 retrofitter could be pretty nasty. But overall, all by itself, nothing incredible going on in blue, nothing all that exciting, but still looks like a solid, I don't know, C plus at least for our blue cards. Not bad at all. Definitely a second to our white, though. The Eternal Wanderer putting in a lot of work to making our white incredible. This is not a lot of black cards. Yeah, black is a pretty empty color. There's just not a ton of cards, and there's some cards I consider pretty much unplayable, like Duress. And then some cards that are pretty medium, like Offer Immortality. Yeah, it's just very, very low on cards. We do have Anoint with Affliction, that's exceptional. Nimrazor Paladin is quite good. Vran is quite good as well. But then like Bone Picker Scourge, Light Belly Rat, they can be really good, but we only have this many black creatures. I just don't think we're going to make it there. And they're definitely a bit weaker than the other two. Not as exciting reasons to be there. Same with like Whisper and Vraska's Fall. They can be okay in the right positions, but not just standalone incredible cards. And this would be 8 black cards maximum if I do run Offer Immortality. I think the card is just, or the color is just a little too empty. It's like a C-. It's our worst color we've seen so far. Moving on to our red. Okay, what do we have here? Well, Oxida Finisher is fine. That's just a gigantic creature at the top of the curve. Furnace Strider is great. Big old 4/5 with haste that can haste out our next threat. Chimney Rabble has played very well in the format, giving us a hasting creature that can attack well while holding up a blocker. Magmatic Sprinter I'm not a huge fan of, having to constantly reinvest the mana into it to get those oil counters onto it, or onto other cards. It's just not where I want to be. Furnace Punisher, pretty good for the cost with that Menace. Centurion's not the greatest, takes just a little too long to get those oil counters on it, so it just plays like a 3 mana 3/2, which is not super great. Aspirants can be good with a lot of equipment. I don't think we're going to have a lot of them, but at the end of the day, we need some filler creatures in here, and these are a little better than our other two 3-drops in red. Shrapnel Slinger, again, another filler creature, but it gives us main deck artifact removal, which is whatever. Engraver is a good filler creature, letting us filter away lands in the late game. And Sawblade Scamp can be a good creature if we care about oil counters, so if we go like the red-green route. And then yeah, Free from Flesh, good combat trick. If you have anything in your deck that cares about oil counters, we do have a couple of those. And then Barbed Batterfist is a very good 2-drop creature. 2 mana 3/1 that leaves this equipment behind to move around later, which is super nice. You can even equip it to an Aspirant for free, because equip abilities that target this cost 1 less to activate, so good combo with that. And then we have Volt Charge for 1 good removal spell, so I do like the red quite a bit. I think the red is as good as the blue, if not a little bit better. Not quite as good as the white still. Again, a lot of that is just because of the Wandering Emperor, the Eternal Wanderer, I guess it's called in this set. But red is very solid here. And for our last color, last but hopefully not least, we've got green, which is fine. Yeah, green doesn't actually look that exciting. We might be splashing the green. Our best card in green is pretty easily Evolving Adaptive. Being able to drop this on turn 1 is always pretty absurd, because then every time you're playing creatures throughout the game, you're just making this bigger and bigger and bigger. So it scales very well throughout the game. So big fan of that card. We also have 1 Infectious Bite for removal, which is great. But after that, we've got some more filler level creatures. The Basilisks are okay. Spore Singers are just okay. Plague Nurse is okay. Brutalizer's okay. Don't think Maze's Mantle is going to be great in here. Just don't have that many toxic creatures. Thirsting Roots could help us fix our mana. Skull Bomb's kind of whatever. Yeah, just a bunch of okay creatures, 1 removal spell. Green looks fine, but I do like our white and red a little better. Although, we're definitely, I think with how the sealed pool looks, with black being the worst color, and then green and red being, you know, close to as good as blue is at least, we're probably just in a sealed pool where we do the very traditional thing of just going where our most powerful cards are. Just pushing into those colors. So we're probably going for the Naya deck here, running all our mana fixing. Probably white Maybe white and red as the core, splashing in the green. Or white and green as the core, splashing in the red. We'll see. So let's start putting our best white cards in here. Definitely Crawling Chorus turn 1. Complete Devotion with all of our white toxic creatures. We'll run all of them. Justiciar, I will probably play. I mean, I have Dune Mover, Prism, and Double Atlas right now. Probably have enough artifacts for that card to be pretty great. Definitely Skrelv's Hive, Flensing Raptor, the Gold Warden's Helms, Porcelain Zealot, and Eternal Wanderer. That only leaves me with enough room for 4 more cards. Which is kind of wild. Might just be really splashing here. So if we go white-red, we would like to probably play mostly artifact stuff like Batterfist to help trigger these Justiciars. And if I go green-white, I would probably mostly want to play Toxic Creatures. But all our green Toxic Creatures are like top-end late-game cards that aren't the greatest at working alongside early game corrupted cards like Skrelv's Hive and combat tricks like Complete Devotion. Yeah, I think I'm just playing mostly red cards. We throw in like the Volt Charge, the Chimney Rabble, the Furnace Strider. One more room for a card, probably like a Batterfist. A Batterfist. The Furnace Punisher and Engraver as well. Cut the Justiciars. Kind of red-white splash green here. For our powerful Planeswalker and our Cinder Slash Ravager. I guess I don't have that many oil counters, so I don't really need to put Cinder Slash in here, but I think it still plays well enough. There's just a lot of 1 toughness stuff. Yeah, we do not have a lot of oil. Could cut Cinder Slash. Feels like if I'm already splashing in Luca, though, we might as well throw it in here. Again, a lot of matchups where it just plays well. Like, if somebody played one against us, it would probably be pretty good. It would kill our double striking Toxic Creatures, our Crawling Chorus, our Phyrexian Mites, our Batterfist. There's just a lot of things that would die. Our Phyrexian Goblin token. We'll run it in here for now. And this is the free draft with nothing really on the line. We get to play as much as we want, even if I lose 50 games in a row, so I don't need to really agonize over it too much here. If you want to see me agonize over some sealed decks, definitely check out my video this weekend. We have the qualifier play-in event coming up, which is going to be Phyrexia All Will Be One sealed, and that is going to be a very competitive event where entry into the qualification weekend is on the line. So, doing some super competitive sealed, it'll be the exact opposite of this weekend. For now, though, I think I'm cool to just chill with this. Like, if I was playing super competitively, I'd definitely put a little bit more work into the deck here. Swapping some things around. Might even put the Infectious Bite out of green in here to have a little more removal. Maybe cut an Atlas, a little bit less cards that don't affect the board state. Make our mana base a little bit worse, but it would make sure that we're interacting with our opponent more often. But this looks like a super, super reasonable build to have starting off. And that's good enough for me here to try to grab our 3 wins. Yeah, we'll roll with our Naya Good Stuff deck. Although I will change the mana base a tiny bit. We have much more white than anything else, right? 11 white, 8 red? That's a little surprising, but I'm going to go for 9 white sources and 1 green source. We have 2 Phyrexian Atlases, a Prophetic Prism, and a Doom Mover to find our 1 green source that we need. So, drop down to 1 forest. And call it a deck. Alright, here's a look at the sealed deck we're going to be playing today. This is pretty much a Boros kind of aggro deck here in general. Good curve of toxic creatures to make use of the very powerful Complete Devotion combat trick. So when our opponent does eventually block, we can hopefully win the combat and draw a card, try to stay ahead on board. We're not really trying to poison our opponent out ever, but we do have enough toxic creatures to potentially corrupt them for our Skrelv's Hive to play pretty well. And then we just have more just great aggressive creatures going up the curve with some menace, some flying, some haste, and then the Porcelain Zealot buffing up all the toxic creatures once per turn. Furnace Strider at the top end of the curve can really beat down, and then Cinder Slash Ravager at the very, very end to try to blow up all our opponent's 1 toughness cards. We are splashing in a little bit of green here so that we can play all of our strongest cards in the sealed pool, our most powerful rares. We have both the Eternal Wanderer, pretty unbeatable planeswalker that can immediately put the board state very far in our position with that -4. Very far in our favor, I should say. And Luca, Bound to Ruin, which can also often put the board state very far in our favor with its -4. But we could also do the -1 and just keep making a bunch of 3/3s off this card. Either way is pretty good. So those excellent Planeswalker Bomb rares, of course the Skrelv's Hive as well. Takes a little more work, but should be pretty powerful for us as well. Yeah, that's pretty much the deck. The only worry that I have here is kind of a low amount of removal. We only really have a Volt Charge, but with these really powerful bombs, hopefully we can make up for that by just playing stronger cards than our opponents. We'll see how it works out as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play with a couple Jawbone Duelists to start things off, trying to get our opponent corrupted for Skrelv's Hive to pop off. Don't mind if I do. Very into this hand. We're also on the play, which is super great. Not just double Jawbone Duelist being super spicy. Drop Jawbone Duelist number 1, see what our opponent's got. If they have a Whisper of the Dross, they could just kill this immediately. That's the 1 mana instant that gives something -1/-1 and lets them proliferate if they want to. We're just going to play a Doom Mover. That will probably not block here, because if it does, we kill it without losing a creature. So we're likely to get our opponent to 2 poison immediately. I think I just want to play another Duelist here, and then we play Skrelv's Hive next turn. And then these will both have lifelink after the first strike damage. Yeah, we'll do our double striking first strike damage first. They'll get at least 1 poison counter. And then for normal combat damage, we will gain 2 life from the normal hits from the Duelists. And then, of course, we're going to start spitting out Phyrexian Mites everywhere. The problem with doing that is it's only going to use 2 of our 4 mana. I don't get to do anything else next turn. I guess I can play Atlas into Hive. Yeah, no, that's fine. Atlas does make up for that. That's going to be pretty good. Atlas Hive next turn, then we have the green source up. I guess I don't need the lifelink yet. So in the interest of not showing our opponent how important it is for us to corrupt them, do we just hold the Hive till post-combat? Yeah, I'm only gaining 2 life. Yeah, I probably should have just played nothing till post-combat. That way they maybe wouldn't spend any premium removal here and just be okay with getting corrupted. But if they spend some premium removal to stay uncorrupted, that's actually pretty bad for us. Alright, that's not premium removal, but it is still removal. Still going to work on a 1 toughness creature. Yeah, they're just going to stay uncorrupted. Fair enough. Well, we got to do what we got to do. Do our best here. Drop Skrelv's Hive. But we are running low on cards. This is the problem with running mana rocks like Phyrexian Atlas, is that it kind of like ups your land count. So because we have 2 Atlas in this deck, it almost feels like we have 18, 19 lands in here. We could theoretically cut a land, but then we're less likely to hit 3 mana turn 3, which means we could have hands where we draw 2 lands and like 2 Atlases. So mana rocks are always incredibly awkward for the land count, because you need the lands to get them out, but then also they functionally just work as if you'd drawn more lands, which can be an issue. So Yeah, we just use Zealot to make sure Duelist can do some stuff here. That's gonna be super nasty. We kill the Head Cleaver, or we corrupt our opponent and gain 3. And deal 6 to them total. Zealot was a great draw. Yeah, we're just gonna do 6 to them and gain 3 life. I do think I want to go back to the deck and cut 1 land, though. With the double Atlas, at least. I don't think I'm cutting 2. But yeah, just playing out the Atlas is making me think of that. And remember that kind of aspect of the deck. So our opponent has 4 mana up. They're on black-white here. It's like black-white Toxic, Charge of the Might, Stone Mover, Shieldred's Head Cleaver. We're in a pretty great position. They're down to 12 life and 4 poison counters. They are going to Annihilating Glare the Porcelain Zealot, which does stop us from being able to attack through the Head Cleaver. But I can still ping them for 1 every turn with Phyrexian Atlas. Ooh, and now a Cinder Slash Ravager. Doesn't do a ton here, but it will be big enough to attack in on future turns, so we might as well drop it down. Pass the turn. Just let the Hive keep making our board state wider and wider and wider until we have enough creatures to attack past their blockers, where they block our best creature, but then take a bunch of chip damage from a bunch of little mites. Necrosquito. That card is not the greatest up front, but as the game progresses, it becomes a very, very big threat that can take over the game. It becomes bigger every time an artifact or creature they control dies. For now, they're fine. So if I attack with everybody, they go block, block, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably just worth it. Probably already worth it with an Atlas on the board, chipping them for 1 damage every turn. Let's get like 4 damage in here minimum. Probably lose some creatures, but don't lose our biggest creatures. Yeah, this is just a super hard block for our opponent if they don't have like an Anoint with Affliction, like an instant speed removal spell. And even that wouldn't be able to kill our big creatures like our 5/5 Vigilance and our 3/3, but it would be able to kill our Double Striker. Anoint with Affliction, 1 and a black for an instant that exiles something with mana value 3 or less. We're gonna double block Cinder Slash Ravager. Interesting. See what their plan is here. Monumental Facade is only a sorcery, so they can't do that. Yeah, I'll just kill Necrosquito and see what's up. Yeah, they might have just thought they could Facade at instant speed, yeah. That was going to be a really bad position for them either way. Like, their other option was kind of just to chump block with both. Take 4. They'd be at 6 life and 8 poison still, and I have the Atlas going off, yeah. Just a rough spot for our opponent. They didn't get to cast too many spells. And we just kind of overran them with Skrelv's Hive doing some serious work in the end. Ravager just being very big. Some large creatures. Let's check out what our cosmetic reward is going to be. That's what we get. Oh wait, cosmetic reward's the 3rd reward. We'll check out what our random rare is going to be. Just hoping for gems, really. We do get a Razor Verge ticket. It's not gems, but it is good because it's going to be important in every constructed format that it's legal in. So not bad at all. So yeah, our rewards for Midweek Magic events are 2 rare rewards, then we get our Mystery Cosmetic. And the Mystery Cosmetic is the one that I'm excited about. It could be any cosmetic from the entirety of Arena. Pretty much any kind of cosmetic. There are parallax 3D card styles for almost every single card on Arena, so that is by far the most likely mystery cosmetic for you to get. So mystery cosmetics for me are just like the lottery to see, will we get a cosmetic that isn't a parallax card style? Because those are few and far between, and those are the spicier, cooler ones to have, like avatars and card sleeves and stuff. So we'll see. We got to get 2 more wins to get there, but I'm ready for that mystery cosmetic lottery. Alright, here we are on the play again, which is quite nice in this format. We get to start with a turn 1 Crawling Chorus as well. That will probably get a poison counter on them here. Oh yeah, it's going to get 1 poison counter on them here. And then we have the Flensing Raptor to guarantee another poison on them turn 3. We have Complete Devotion as well if I want to try to win a combat and draw a card. Depending on what they play to block it, we might go for Complete Devotion. But most likely we just play Raptor, because it makes the best use of our mana. There's a Duelist of Deep Faith. Yeah, I'm definitely going to Raptor then, because if I hit a 4th land, then I get to drop Duelist and Complete Devotion in the same turn. And I did forget to go cut a land, but it's actually, I guess, going to be advantageous this game, because we do need to draw quite a few lands right now. Sack a creature Planeswalker. Well, this replaces itself, so we'll sack that. Pretty good deal. And they are going to go ahead and get their 2nd poison onto us. There's the 4th land. Drop Duelist, attack with both, holding up Complete Devotion for blocks. Our opponent is very corrupted here. They have 4 poison counters on them. We get corrupted either way if we block. Oh, they're just over it. Interesting. I was gonna say, we get corrupted either way if we block, but I would rather probably try to kill the Blightbelly Rat and draw a card here. But I guess they probably just don't have interaction for the Raptor here, and they just want to move on to the next game. That is one thing you'll notice in Midweek Magic events that is pretty true to every single format they put on Midweek Magic. You are going to experience a lot of early concessions because there is nothing on the line. It's completely free to play, and you have as many shots as possible to get to that 3rd win, so that just happens in the format. We'll claim our prize, move on to the next game. We do get some gems. Love it. Love to see it. I'm all about free gems. If the daily deals were always the stonks in the store, I would be super happy. When the daily deal is like 1,000 gold for 750 gold, or 500 gems for 350 gems, or whatever. This hand is fine. We can fix our mana pretty well with Prism and Dune Mover. We have Jawbone Duelist to start things off. It's most likely what I want to play first. Yeah, this is pretty fine. We are on the play again. Now there's a Gold Warden's Helm, so we're probably, waiting on these. Just dropping the Helm turn 3. Blue-white from our opponent, very cool color pair. They'll start with a Duelist of Deep Faith. I wish I had a Complete Devotion, that would be phenomenal here. Could instead set up a Volt Charge to try to get that out of the way. Or just offer the trade. I'm gonna go Dune Mover. If I can get the card to cast. Get a mountain on top. I can use Prophetic Prism to get my green source. But I'll be offering the Dune Mover for Duelist of Deep Faith trade on attacks. Well, Malkator's Watcher very good against 1 toughness creatures like Dune Mover. Now I don't have a good Dune Mover attack. They are sending in Duelist of Deep Faith though, which means I do get to attack with Jawbone Duelist. Do I want to just immediately corrupt my opponent? It would involve Volt Charging a Malkator's Watcher, which feels pretty bad. I only have the 1 card in my deck that really wants to corrupt them, so I don't think that's worth it. We're probably just playing Gold Warden's Helm here. Yeah, and I can move it on to Dune Mover later so that they can actually attack into Malkator's Watcher. And whenever I cast Volt Charge, I can also just proliferate them to being corrupted. So if I do draw into Skrelf's Hive, We've got a way to guarantee that third poison counter on our opponent regardless. Malcator's Watcher is going to chip in for damage. We're down to 17. And there's a Phyrexian Atlas. Another land. Let's see what we get off our Prism. Another Gold Warden's Helm. Much as I'd love to send in Dune Mover, probably best to just play another Helm here. We offered the Duelist trade here. Fine. Yeah, get some of their stuff out of the way. Duelist for Duelist, and then our Rebel hits them for 2. Okay. Another Gold Warden's Helm, and we pass the turn. Now we've got 3 creatures on board to get attacking with, and I can move the Helms over again to the Dune Mover to make sure that it has more than 1 toughness, and it can send in past the little Phyrexian drone. Serum Snare, that is very, very good against 4 Mirrodin equipment. So that's super sad for us. 2 mana instant speed, destroy one of our creatures and proliferate. Not what we want to see from our opponents. Send in Malcator's Watcher. We're going to go down to 16 now. And what else do they have? They've got 3 cards left in their hand. Crawling Chorus is one of them. Leonin Lightbringer is another. They all 3 non-land? Maybe. Now we're just slowly dying. Dune Mover for Lightbringer, we just keep getting hit by the Malcator's Watcher. We're just waiting to draw one of our Planeswalkers. Pretty much. We're on a 16 turn clock here. We can just let this be a top deck war. Well, this is some kind of trick, but I can Volt Charge in response. Okay, or that's just pretty reasonable. Okay. I hope they have a complete devotion here. +2/+2 draw a card. I guess it was just really trying to get us corrupted. They were just threatening a trick that they didn't have. Yep, what it looks like. Make one of these 4 toughness, but that doesn't really matter. Just make them both 3 toughness. Meld Web Strider, that's a very big one. Five, they can just use the oil counter to block if I try to send in. They can use the oil counter to attack us. It's got vigilance as well, so they can crew with this and then move the Bardiche to Watcher and hold up the crew with the other later. I feel like I have to Volt Charge the Rebel just so they have less creatures to crew that. Although I could like block it with a 2/3 and Volt Charge it. I guess we leave that option open. I've got plenty of lands. I should be able to cast anything I draw and still Volt Charge. Trade one of our 2/2s for the 4/3. Well, kind of just trade a 2/2 for a 2/2. Because it's a 2/2 with a big equipment on it. But that's still fine. Lowering down the number of creatures so they have less things to crew the Strider. I have to Volt Charge Malcator's Watcher. Hits us for 3 every turn and we have no way to block it. Yeah, but this thing, we don't really have a way to block the 5/5 without the Volt Charge, and that kills us a lot faster. I'll just take some Watcher damage here. Play Dune Mover and they choose to put a Plains on top. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They want a 9th mana? I guess I'm just gonna Volt Charge Watcher, because if they never use this Meld Web Strider, then I guess I don't have to Volt Charge it. And they are kind of just refusing to use it right now. Yep, buff a Dune Mover. Make a 3/5 against their 4/2. Now they have to start using the Strider. We block the Strider with a 3/5 and a 2/2. Yep, we've got a solid board state, whichever attack they go for. 3/5 and a 2/2 to block the 5/5, or just a 3/5 to block the 4/2. If they crew the Strider and move the Bardiche to it, that would be really big. That would then be an issue. It's +2/+1, I believe. Be like a 7/6. Yeah, 7/6. I'd have to block with everybody. They'd only get to kill 2 of our 3 creatures, though. But yeah, they would get to kill 2 of our creatures with that attack. They are crewing the Strider. Let's see what they got. Another Serum Snare could be pretty nasty. Nope, just kill the Furnace Punisher. Fair enough. Well, that worked pretty well for us. Now we have 2 creatures on board, both of which are big enough to trade into their Dune Mover. White Sun's Twilight. So I suppose we lose unless we draw Wanderer immediately. Alright. 5, 10. Go to 2 life, 7 poison. They say I have 1 draw step. Alright, not much we can do there. White Sun's Twilight does find some victories. We are going to have to mulligan this, because it doesn't really do anything without the red source. Well, there's an Eternal Wanderer for late in the game. We probably dropped the Porcelain Zealot here, because the Eternal Wanderer will win pretty much any game we can cast her. Rustvine Cultivator turn 1. Excellent start for any green deck in this format. This gets to start putting oil counters on itself and then untapping lands later, which can ramp them up, or it can just help trigger their cards that care about oil. They're going to cycle Adros Skull Bomb. We'll play a Jawbone Duelist. It's also just a 1-2 body. This card would be fine if it was a 1-1. I guess it would probably be bad if it was a 1-1, but the 2 toughness is just really big on this card. Surviving all of the different ways to do 1 damage to all creatures is pretty big, and then also blocking 1-1s is huge against Phyrexian Mites, Goblin tokens, Jawbone Duelist type cards. We are at 5 out of 6 lands drawn so far for Eternal Wanderer, so we have a plan. Just need to make sure our opponent doesn't have that blue source up for a counterspell whenever we cast the Wanderer. Ooh, Crawling Chorus. We can Prism as well and see what we hit. There's the 6th land. I think I'm holding for blocks here. We will acquire our first poison counter from Pestilent Siphoner. Thrun? Can't be the target of non-green spells. I can just keep chumping Thrun, I guess. And then Wanderers will still kill it. So we want to chump Thrun with not the Crawling Chorus. We want Crawling Chorus to be around when we use the Eternal Wanderer. Well, this is unfortunate. Our opponent has the mana up for a counterspell, and I can't... I have no way to play around it. No way to try to get them to use it early. Oh, it's got Trample, too? Oh, wow. Thrun is pretty scary, too. I probably want to keep my 2-3 to the Eternal Wanderer. If the Wanderer doesn't resolve, I'm dead anyway, so I might as well stop 1 point of damage. Alright. Moment of truth. They do have a copper Longlegs on the board. That could be why it's stopping during their turn. And it looks like it is.
I've made it just in time.
So we are going to keep our 2-3 and make them keep their Cultivator. And they will scoop them up. That is going to be game. The board state is going to turn into a 2-3 on our board against a 1-2 on theirs. They don't have a way to kill the Wanderer afterwards unless they top deck removal. And then we just start spitting out 2/2s with Double Strike every turn. And we're going to have a 2/3 and a 1/1 Might thanks to the Crawling Chorus. So Eternal Wanderer does what it does and just straight up wins the game. Kind of the exact reverse of last round, where it all just comes down to just the one bomb played in the end. White Sun's Twilighted for lethal last game, and now we'll just Eternal Wanderer for lethal. And that will be our third win. It's time to get our mystery cosmetic and see what we get. Fingers crossed, anything but a Parallax card style. Again, infinitely more likely to be a Parallax card style than anything else, but let's find out. It is a Parallax card style for Ichorspit Basilisk. The other thing I don't like about these is, of course, I don't like how they're mirrored on the edges, which makes the artwork look all funky and kind of AI generated. I like letting the artwork be just what the artist created. The mirroring on the edges makes things look super unnatural, as you can see by that V shape on the left-hand side. And then on the right here, how the whatever thing the basilisk is on starts curving back downwards. So I don't love these visually either, and Arena still doesn't have a way to default to not use these Parallax card styles. There is the setting in gameplay not to auto-apply card styles, but this specifically only works for decks that you already have built. And then there's hide alternate art styles, which is to hide like Universes Beyond stuff like Dracula card styles and Godzilla card styles. Neither of these stop Parallax card styles. When you draft a new deck, they will just be auto-equipped to that new deck you drafted. And they'll be auto-equipped to all the cards in the draft pod. So every time I see an Ichorspit Basilisk in draft now, it's going to have that card style on it. So Parallax card style is kind of a curse rather than a gift until they give me a way to turn them off in draft as well. But still had some fun today. Got to play some free Phyrexia All Will Be One Sealed, so it's worth the curse. It's worth the Parallax card style curse on that Ichorspit Basilisk. And yeah, we had a pretty sweet deck. I hit a lot of lands, but that was a bit self-imposed. We are running double Atlas, Prophetic Prism, and Dune Mover in here, so we probably should have cut 1 or 2 lands. Again, I didn't spend the most time on this deck build. We could have built something a little better, but still definitely good enough for the free event where I could lose as many games as I wanted on the way to that reward. But yeah, super fun. Got to play Eternal Wanderer. I didn't get to cast Luca. That was a little sad, but got some very nice work done with Skrelv's Hive as well, with some toxic creatures. These Jawbone Duelists were showing up a lot. Got to play some fun stuff for free. Absolutely recommended this event. If you haven't done it yet and you want to get some practice in Phyrexia All Will Be One, definitely hop in. Outside of that, that's going to end today's video. Well, that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feeds. You can also hang out with me live at the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and support the channel directly at the Patreon in the link in the description below. And outside of that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.